Lisa. Today I have two photos. They're kind of long and narrow photos. I think they're 2.5 by 4 inches. And I want to put them in kind of a grid arrangement. I've got some papers here from Public Library. This is October Afternoon's collection. Of course, it's library themed and has some beautiful A-side prints, really interesting A-side prints. I used this one on a layout in my last Scrapbooking that I did for Lane Amon back in June, and I've used some of these others that have a lot of color to them, but their B-sides in this collection, like most October Afternoons, are really versatile prints. So I've picked out 4 of the B-sides, and if you saw my last newsletter video, you recall this paper that starts out looking like this and ends up looking like this when we get done with it. If you didn't catch that video and are not a newsletter subscriber, if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, I'm sending out the September newsletter. I got it out so late that I'm not going to do a resend of it. I'll just put a link to the September video in the October one as well. So be sure and sign up for that. Now, these 4 papers are going to be my 4 sections, along with a place for my title in one of them. And what looks like a banner here is actually a silhouette die cut. I just haven't cut it yet because I don't know what color to cut it. We'll find that out once we figure out what order these papers are going to go in. And I thought I would use some flair also with this one because it sort of has a home kind of theme. And I remembered that I had all these cute little flair buttons that came from a Flair for Buttons. It's an Etsy shop. And then I also have some from Scrap Crazy, that's another Etsy shop that has some little food on them. So I'm going to use that one, I know for sure, and probably one of the home ones, either the brown one or maybe this white. We'll get the white one out for now. Nah, I think I want the brown one for now. And I'm going to need a third one. Could do the photo because that's blue. There's a couple of Christmas ones in there that don't have anything to do with these others. They didn't come from the same place. They just happened to be in this thing. I think I might do the blessed one. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to have some flair down here on the bottom below this photo of food. And the topic of my page is I do some cooking for my parents now once a week, and so I wanted, that's something that's going on these days in our world, so I wanted to scrap that. Now, what order I'm going to do these papers in, my photo probably looks the best on this blue, sort of goes with things, and this looks really good on the green, but it could rest, because it's going to have a mat around some of these. So it could rest on the print. What I'd like to do is to kind of put them opposite so that the blue and greens that are kind of close together are opposite and the warm colors are opposite. So they can go this way, and then the title would be here, or we can do them this way. So I can really flip them around lots of directions, top to bottom, left to right. I'm just trying to keep the cool colors opposite and the warm colors opposite. I finally decided that I kind of liked that paper that I had stamped there at the top to sort of frame my photo. And then the blue would, either the blue or the green would be a good place to rest my title. And then I'll have my die cut, which I'm kind of thinking about maybe either doing one of the red or pink tones to it, or maybe the brown, like is in that home flare there. That would look good as well. But what I probably need to do next is the title, because I have a little more limited selection of thickers since I am going to cut the title out of thicker, or pull the title from my thickers. I went ahead and typed up my journaling. I have some to display and then I have some to tuck in behind. I didn't have quite enough thickers. I'm always run out of A's and R's and N's, certain letters, so I cut down an H and a D and just cut the tops off of them and made some of these other letters. One of those is some just plain chipboard letters, so I'm trying some different markers to see what I can color it with. A lot of times I paint chipboard. These are really small letters, and I think the markers will just be easier to control and faster. So I'm just experimenting with some chipboard numbers and odd things that I probably won't use to see what color I like. And I ended up liking this, I think it's the Cameo. It was an old color from Stampin' Up, a Cameo Coral. I always keep the old markers. I keep old everything for that matter. Alright, so we got cooking, and we'll have on Tuesday. And what I cut my die out of was some silver paper. What I decided would be fun is, instead of doing it as a silhouette type of shape with all one color, is to cut it out of a bunch of different colors and then paper piece the parts together. I think it will be very easy to do that because it's just pretty much straight lines to cut across. Now, I wasn't happy with my background. That beige background just wasn't doing anything for me, so I looked at some wood grain papers, and I finally decided on this one from Close Knit by Crepe Paper. It's a real dark wood. Part of my kitchen cabinetry is dark, part's white, and I think that kind of goes with the kitchen. And using my sketch that, when I print them out, comes out to 6 inches square, all I have to do is double each item in the sketch, and that tells me the size. And that's a starting point. In my case, I altered the size a little bit to get it to what looked good with my photos and things, but I used close to what was in the sketch. So I'm starting, I think I cut a craft one, and then I cut one out of silver so I could take some of the pieces out of silver here and make my little silver frying pans. And then there's some canisters and a bowl up there, and I want to cut those out of some different things as well. I've got some red cardstock that matched, and the Baja Blue was the other color I think that matched really well with these papers. So I just need to do the canister. So I just, cut either all or most of the image out of all the different papers, and then I could pick and choose what I wanted to build my colorful embellishment there at the top out of. There is yellow, and I didn't really end up with any yellow. Oh, there I did. I did go back and cut something in yellow. Now, I thought it would also be fun to add a little extra to these besides just cardstock. So I have some rub-ons here. This is a Christmas set of rub-ons, but it's got these sort of generic little circle ones that I'm going to put around the top of the bowl. I don't know what made me go look for rub-ons. I use them in mixed media, but I don't typically use them for much else. But it's nice that I always like for my stuff to go for different kinds of projects. So when I'm buying things for mixed media that I can use in scrapbooking and vice versa, I just think I get a lot more out of my purchases. Now, I think these will look better if they have a little shading to them, and since they are Stampin' Up! Cardstock and I have the Stampin' Up! Ink, it's easy just to add a little bit of the same ink to the edge of each one so that it gives a little shading. And this month we are going to spend more time with die cuts, and I have the silhouette, but the things I'm doing you could do with the Cricut or other die cutting systems. I did this layout some time ago, but I just never had gotten around to doing the video, so it's working out well to put it here in December. And I have some other layouts coming up where we'll be using die cutting systems. Now I'm going to add some stamping to this also to add a little bit more interest to my shelf. And I have a tiny bit of trouble, as I recall, getting this straight and on there. It is a very small thing that I'm stamping, so I think I end up stamping it twice. Oh, my head's in the way. I didn't cut my head out like I normally do when I'm editing the video. And there we go again. So I ended up stamping it twice, and that covered the space up, and it doesn't look too much like I screwed up. And then I'll just glue everything together. All right, so we've got ready to kind of glue stuff down. I had some rickrack here I was thinking about putting across the middle, and then I've also looked at putting it on the bottom. using the basic gray magnetic mat on this layout to help line everything up. I think that's nice with grid layouts. And Tombow adhesive for all the little pieces. If you do use the Silhouette, here in the early part of December, they're having a sale at the Silhouette store for on the die cuts and on their subscriptions. I think I'm going to renew my subscription. Done that. All right, I looked at some border stickers here as well, and I ended up not using them. Those were ones that went with the collection, but I really just liked my regular rickrack. Probably bought that at the fabric store or maybe Walmart in the fabric department. Used to use rickrack a lot in card making. I don't use it that much anymore. Now I do have another piece of cardstock here, and it looked kind of plain, so I'm using a stencil and some distress ink and just going over this just to give it a little bit of design. I didn't worry too much about the middle because the middle was going to get covered up. Now, since this is a cooking themed layout, I thought, sort of recipes a lot of times have a tab to the recipe index, so I'm using my old tab punch from Stamping Up and the stamp set that went with that so that I can pull the paper, the journaling from the back out when I want to read that. So here we are with our page all done, and I'll admit this one took quite a bit more time than I expected when I started out with just a simple grid page, but I'm pleased with the finished result. We have the die cut up here in place of the banner that shows on the sketch. Did use the 3 flare pieces at the bottom, but I did not end up adding another layer to this. I felt like this was full enough down here in this corner, and I do have some matting around this photo. What I have here is my journaling on top of the stenciled cardstock, and then I put some additional some longer journaling with a tab in the pocket, so I could capture a little bit more of that, and used my trim through the middle instead of on the bottom. Wood grain paper on the back, I really like that. I think that makes the rest of the colors pop so much more than that ivory cardstock. So, fun page, captured kind of a day-to-day thing that's going on now, and got to use some of my stash, but a lot of new product on this paper on this page with the October Afternoon paper and then a Silhouette die cut. So, thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll check out my other products, and particularly my Scrapbooking with Stencils class, where you can use stencils for a little bit or a whole lot of design on your page. Thanks for watching.